Hey traders, John Fortune here with this week's weekly Forex forecast for the 4th of June to the 8th of June 2018. As always, we're going to start with the US dollar index and oil before running through a number of markets, looking at the key levels of support and resistance in the process. And we're also going to highlight some of the targets that we're going to be looking at in the coming week and also in the weeks ahead. So without further ado, let's jump over to the charts and see where the money is this week. Starting with the US dollar index. Now last week we were looking further advanced in the US dollar index. You can see we did get a push to the upside, but we actually fell short of the target here set from last week at 95.15. We ended up pulling all the way back down, and we're now currently sitting at broken resistance turning support in the US dollar index. So very simply put, going into next week, we are looking for further advances once again, and this is a great place to start to look for bullish formations and patterns. And if we get those bullish formations and patterns in this area, we're going to be looking for further advances in the US dollar index up towards the next key area of resistance to the upside to come up and finish this move to the upside here at the 95.15. Next we have oil. Now last week we actually traded into the target set in oil at 66.65, but we came straight into it. I mean, we wanted a correction first. So really, I mean, to be honest with you, from about here to here, it was pretty much untradeable unless you traded it in the very, very low time frames. So we didn't really get the correction, but we have now broken through support and we pulled back and retested and failed back above here. So failed as resistance, failed as support, retested as resistance, and we're now starting to sell off to the downside. So very simply put, going into this week, if we can get a pullback, preferably even a retest of broken support turning resistance, once again, this is going to be a great place to start to look for bearish formations and patterns. And we're going to be looking at initiating shorts down towards the next key area of support to the downside in the target set at the 64.05. So the first pair we're going to look at here is euro dollar. Now last week we traded into both targets set in the euro dollar. The first target was at the 1.16164 and the second target down at the 1.15550, and we actually bounced after hitting those targets, and we finished the week up in this area around the 1.1700 handle. So very simply put, if we can get a further push to the upside and a retest of broken support turning resistance, this is going to be a great place to look for bearish formations and patterns once again. And we're going to be looking at initiating shorts down towards the first key area of support to the downside in target 1 at the 1.14460. And if we can get a breakthrough here, we're going to be looking down towards the next key area of support to the downside in target 2 at the 1.12924. Next we have pound dollar. Now last week we came down, took out the target set from last week at the 1.3272, and we bounced from that target, that key area of support, and we started to push to the upside, and we're starting to form a bit of a correction. Now very simply put, as we're looking for further advances generally speaking in the dollar next week, we are looking for declines in the pound dollar. If we can get a pullback and a retest of broken support turning resistance up at the 1.3462. This is going to be a great place to start to look for bearish formations and patterns. And if we get the right kind of bearish formations and patterns in this area, this is going to be where we're going to start to look for short positions. And we're going to be looking at taking those shorts down towards the target and the next key area of support to the downside at the 1.3041. And you can see there's pretty much nothing but air between these two levels here. So this could be a very, very nice trade if we can get those bearish formations and patterns, and if we can initiate those shorts next week in the pound. Next we have the US dollar Japanese yen. Now last week we came down, took out the target set at 108.364 in the US dollar Japanese yen, and we actually bounced from this area. We're now making our way back up to the key area of broken support, looking to turn resistance at the 110.034. As we start the week below here, even though we are looking potentially for some US dollar strength, we are overall looking for a continuation to the downside in the US dollar yen. And as long as we stay below the 110.034, we're looking for further declines as we were last week. So what we're going to be looking for going into next week is a further continuation up. And if we can get a retest of broken support turning resistance, that would be a great place to start to look for bearish formations and patterns. And we're going to be looking to initiate shorts down towards the next key area of support to the downside and the target 2 set from last week at the 107.319. And just keep in mind, guys, that although we're looking for a stronger dollar next week, if we have a stronger Japanese yen and we pair the dollar against the yen, we will still see declines in the US dollar yen, even though the dollar is fairly strong. Next, we have the Aussie dollar. Now, last week, we pretty much did nothing in the Aussie dollar last week. We started the week up here. We went down. and then we finished the week up here. So we pretty much finished the week where we started and we just did a down and up kind of move. Now going into this week, we're still looking for a continuation to the downside overall. If we can get a further pullback and a retest of broken support, as you can see, hasn't yet turned as resistance. If we can get a pullback and a retest of broken support turning resistance in this area, this is going to be a great place to start to look for bearish formations and patterns. And if we get the right kind of bearish formations and patterns in this area, we're going to be looking first of all back down to the bottom here, this key area of support and target 1 at the 0.74477. And if we can get a breakthrough here, we're going to be looking for further continuation down towards the next key area of support to the downside and target 2 at the 0.73333. Next, we have New Zealand dollar. Now, last week we pulled back to retest broken support, turning resistance in the New Zealand dollar at the 0.69882. And we go into this week below the key area of broken support, turning resistance. So very simply put, as we start the week below this level, we are looking for further declines in the New Zealand dollar. This is a great place right here to start to look for bearish formations and patterns. And if we get the right kind of bearish formations and patterns in this area, we're going to be looking to initiate shorts down towards the target set from last week at the 0.68180. And if we can get a breakthrough here, we have a secondary target just a little bit further to the downside at the 0.67810. Next, we have the US dollar franc. Now, last week we came down and took out the target set in the US dollar franc at the 0.98439, which was about here. And we bounced late in the week, and we sit now going into this week below broken support turning resistance at 0.98908. So very simply put, going into this week, this is a great place to start to look for bearish formations and patterns. Again, we are generally speaking looking for potential strength in the dollar. So what this tells us is that actually the Swiss franc is pretty strong as well. And if the Swiss franc is stronger than the dollar next week, we are going to see further declines, even if we have a fairly strong dollar. So with that said, this is a great place to start to look for bearish formations and patterns. And as long as we stay below the key area of broken support turning resistance at the 0.98908, we're going to be looking for bearish formations and patterns. And we're going to be looking to initiate shorts down towards the next key area of support to the downside at the 0.97555. Next, we have US dollar CAD. Now, last week we had actually broken out of this range that we had been looking at for a couple of weeks, and we were looking for a pullback and a retest of broken resistance turning support. And we did test it quite deeply, but this is what we got. And we now start the week above broken resistance turning support at the 1.29085. So very simply put, this is a great place to start to look for bullish formations and patterns. And if we get the right kind of bullish formations and patterns in this area, we're going to be looking at initiating longs up towards the target and the key area of resistance set from last week at the 1.31119. And last but not least, we have gold. Now, last week we were looking for a pullback and a retest of broken support turning resistance at the 1304.25. And we actually already had this short in the room from last week up in this area. So very simply put, going into this week, we may get a little bit of a correction first, but ultimately we're looking for further shorts, further declines in gold, down towards the first key area of support to the downside and the target set at the 1275.66. And if we can get a breakthrough here, we're going to be looking for the next key area of support to the downside and target 2 at the 1260.91. And you may notice that these targets have been slightly adjusted from last week, guys, as new information has come in. So that is it from me for this week, guys. As always, I hope you enjoyed this video, and if you did, please let me know by liking, sharing and subscribing. A huge thank you to all of you who do that on a regular basis, and a big thank you to those of you who have subscribed so far. I hope you all have a fantastic week next week. I hope you all have a really nice weekend. The only thing left to say is take care and don't forget to trade safely.